attending the Coatbridge Community Boards actually for quite a while, as some of you will know, before the Community Champions board role had come in officially, if you like. And also I've got quite a strong connection with Coatbridge over a number of years, and have a real affinity with the community and the folks of Coatbridge and surrounding areas, as the previous head teacher at Coatbridge High. So just in case there's those of you that aren't aware of that, I know some of you are. So I really am absolutely delighted that I have got the role, because there was quite a lot of discussion around who was wanting to be in which areas, and I had put my pitch in that I wanted to remain in Coatbridge and work alongside the community as indeed a champion, and have that relationship where there is that link with the council, obviously, and between myself and yourselves as community representatives. In terms of my own remit, I'm head of education, so obviously that's where my expertise would lie, as you would expect, around schools and supporting communities and all of the things that come along with that. But that does not mean that I'm not the right person to be able to get the answers around certain things if you so wish. And obviously, working alongside all my other community champions and head of service colleagues, we will be able to support the Coatbridge Community Board in numerous ways. So it's an evolving role. Obviously, this is something which is very new for us, and it will evolve. But I'm really excited about being part of this community board, or continuing to be part of it, I should say, and being that link between the council, if you like, the area, and yourselves. So I'm quite happy to answer any questions or anything else, or take anything at the end. But I hope that kind of just gives a very brief summary of how we'll be taking things forward. I don't know if Christine and Matt want to add anything to that at all. I'm quite happy for you to come in if I've missed anything there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. Anybody, any points, questions you want to raise? No,
I think that covered everything, Chair, as far as we're concerned. Thanks.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Jeannie. Moving on.
Thank you.
Moving on, flexible funding report. You'll have the papers in front of you, a report from Matt Costello.
Thanks, Chair. This report that was sent out along with the meeting invite provides information relating to the flexible fund and tackling financial insecurity funding streams which have been allocated to local initiatives in North Lanarkshire. This funding is intended to support individuals and communities impacted during the COVID-19 pandemic. It's really just to ask the Community Board to note the funding arrangements that have been implemented, and that further information will be made available to the Community Board as required. The report details the areas where additional funding has been allocated, and further funding will be made available soon to local community groups and other agencies. That's all, Chair.
Anybody, any points, questions that you want to raise with Matt?
So, hello, Matt.
Christine.
Christine Raleigh. Is this fund something that we're going to have to bid into, or we have to apply for, or is it something that you're reallocating?
This is one that there was already been an application process, Christine.
Right.
It took place earlier this year, and
Okay.
we're almost completed it this week, and hopefully the successful applicants were made aware of the outcome within the next week or so, after next week or into the following week, but it shouldn't be too long now. But it was an application process for the community side of it.
It's closed. Okay, yep. Then that's lovely. Thank you. Thanks.
Matt, Kevin can't get in on the chat bar.
Can you just confirm all the previous projects that have already been passed? These all got the green light now. You've got no funding to cover them.
That's a local development programme you're referring to, Councillor. I'll touch on that in a few minutes once I get to that.
That's further down. That's further down in the agenda. Matt, sorry,
okay.
Can I just minute the one about your flexible fund? Was that the application that was submitted through Voluntary Action North Lanarkshire?
Yes, that's the one, Chair.
So that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's lovely. Okay. Moving on nicely. Number 7, community partnership updates. We've got three points in the agenda. There's the board development session and the local development programme, both by Matt Costello. You want to work on both of them then, Matt?
Yep, I will do. Just start off with the board development sessions, just to take a couple of minutes just to talk about the sessions that We've mentioned this at previous community boards, and it's just to highlight at this stage that in the importance, and just that Janie picked up on earlier on her introduction about the importance of the local community and our community planning partners in relation to the success of the community boards. It's very important that we engage in a positive way. And one of the things we picked up on was ensuring that we have a successful model going forward. In the board development sessions, we want to cover as many areas as we can that the local community groups and partners would be interested in. We've identified some of these. I'm just going to quickly run through a few of those areas that we've looked at. For example, general partnership working, community engagement, the role of the board member or the role of the chair, decision making, participatory budgeting, local development programme, partner budget processes, not just the council, but the budget processes of the police, fire and rescue, NHS Lanarkshire, voluntary action North Lanarkshire, for example. Community asset transfer, mental health and other local health strategies, and community safety. This is some of the areas we've looked to consider having further discussions about in board development approaches. So what happens next is that we want to agree what these critical areas for development are, and we want to hear from yourselves about that. So to do that, we're going to prepare a survey in conjunction with the council's talent and organisational development team to pull together a survey that allows our partners and yourselves to feedback where you think it would be best to cover in terms of the board development sessions going forward. We're looking for somebody from the board, if anybody's interested from the board, to be part of that group that's devising how we engage as widely as possible with our local community groups and consider different and preferred learning methods which will be taken into account and hopefully result in a blended approach to learning and board development going forward, including online, interactive and paper-based approaches as well. So if anybody's interested in participating in that, then please let us know. So we're hoping to undertake the survey, look at the feedback, and then towards the next round of board sessions, we'll then look to introduce the board development sessions going forward. We'll continue to look at the feedback from that and develop that further over the next few months. So please, if anybody's interested in that, then please let us know, and we can take that forward. You don't need to tell us tonight, but if anybody is interested, just give us a shout, and we'll make sure you're included in that process going forward.
It's Marion here. Can I ask you, see the survey, is it to be done based on the organisation, or can individuals complete it?
Both, Marion, both can do that. We're looking to hear from individuals and from organisations themselves.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Chair, you want me just to move on to the local development
carry on.
programme?
Thanks for that, Matt. You move on to the local development programme. Again, you still have the papers in front of each of you.
Yeah, the papers should be there. Again, just come back to the local development programme. This is the programme that looks at local projects across the Coatbridge area. You'll see a number of projects that's been carried out recently for the last few years. For example, the play areas that have been developed in some areas, the new CCTV that's been developed down in Bargady, for example, some car parking projects across the localities, things like that have been done in a number of areas, but there's really good examples of projects that have been delivered. This report provides an update on the current projects, which in Coatbridge, most of the projects have been fully delivered in the last year, but we're looking to move forward now on the basis of other projects that have came to the board and over the last year or so, the last year, 18 months. Just to give you some figures for Coatbridge, if you looked at the report, Coatbridge has been allocated for year one of the 5-year capital programme £260,000, just over £260,000. On the holding list currently for Coatbridge, there's just under £500,000 worth of projects. So obviously those two figures don't match up for a 1-year response, but this is a 5-year programme, and we're looking to develop as many of those projects as we can going over the next year or two. So it will take more than 1 year to deliver those projects. Out of the ones amounting to £493,000, I think we can say that not all of those projects will go ahead. So we will be able to streamline that a bit. But we will be working very closely with local community groups and elected members to determine which projects we've got most information about and the ones that we can take forward with community involvement, linking to the local outcome improvement plan that will be picked up a wee bit later on. So we'll ensure that the community board is kept fully informed of these projects going forward. As I say, we'll start work to develop and deliver the projects that we have on the holding list. We'll look at the priorities that are based on the wide-ranging community support that meet the criteria for the local development programme and the local outcome improvement plan, and delivered within reasonable budgets. So that's we want to start the process going for that. And just to draw your attention to the formula that was used, this isn't purely based on population. We do look at areas and the information relating to the index of multiple deprivation, and that ensures that the areas that do have more poverty in the areas are awarded more money in terms of the budget allocation going forward. So that's taken into account as that. So I'm just looking for the board here to take on board the situation in relation to LDP and agree the recommendations going forward, Chair.
Okay. We get any comments, questions you want to ask Matt? No. Matt, can I ask you that the budgets, is it an application form? I'm looking at the stuff that's done, it's a lot environmental. Can I?
Willie, I believe Councillor Larson might have wanted to say something now.
Sorry, Councillor Larson, on you go.
That's all right, Matt. It's just I don't have the agenda. I don't know if my Outlook's playing up. I've just put it in the search box and nothing's coming. Would you be able to ping it over to me?
Yeah, we'll get an agenda sent over to you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Sorry, Matt, I was asking for going forward. Is there an application form in relation to the LDP programmes for community groups or to get access to?
There isn't an application form as such, but what we have prepared and will be issued fairly soon after the round of community boards is we'll be sending out a forum to local groups. And it's really just a project forum that allows groups or any individuals who are part of organisations that want to put forward ideas for projects. In there you can put some background to the project, where it is, any information relating to community engagement that might have already been undertaken in relation to a particular project idea. And from that we can then maintain a list and start the ball rolling in relation to some of the projects that have came forward. But if you look at the list on the holding list just now, there, as I say, there's just under £500,000 worth of projects there at the moment. So we're not particularly crying out for a lot of new projects just now, but certainly bearing in mind this is a 5-year capital programme, and we will be looking forward to taking more projects on board going forward. I'm always happy to discuss with groups any ideas they've got, because not, as I say, not every project in the holding list just now will go forward. We do have a fairly healthy budget for Coatbridge for this year, and we do want to spend that budget in full going forward, but we don't want to be hanging back on that or make any savings or anything on that. This is something we want to spend that budget as fully as we possibly can. So we will keep people and the board informed that, just for example, there was any potential space in the existing budget and we need new projects, then we'll put that out to local organisations for ideas.
That's great. Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Matt, it's Marion again. Sorry to bother you. See, a lot of them, it says environmental improvements. Have you got a kind of overview as to what that is?
This tends to be, Marion, in areas where it's in open spaces or parks or within housing estates, for example, where it's areas that may have been used for other purposes in the past. Just say, for example, garage or lock-up areas or old play areas that maybe have been removed, or areas that just became overgrown for one reason or another. And it's just things that the local community groups was wanting that area to be spruced up a wee bit. The council does maintain these areas of ground, but maybe want maybe more done to those areas and a bit extra investment in them for one way or another. Maybe it's a seating, an entrance feature, these kind of things that can be done in some areas. We do so. There is a reference to some other community safety initiatives that we've undertaken in areas as well, some new fencing, that kind of thing. Just the kind of things that spruce up areas, opposed to leaving them as they are.
No bother. Thanks, Matt.
Matt, could I come in, please? Are you meaning like old playgrounds and areas like that that's been demolished maybe over the years, and we could possibly get the funding to replace it?
Well, play areas can be considered, but there is a criteria for play areas, Councillor Gourley. If, for example, if we've already got a play area fairly close to the area where somebody's talking about one, then we won't do another play area there because we've done one somewhere locally to it. But if it's an area that maybe been somewhere, it's been a previous, as I say, maybe a play area or a garage reserve site or lockups, these kind of places we've been in there and we've tidied that up and we've done other things with it to make it look more attractive in the areas.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, somebody had their hand up. You're just seen it.
Chair, there's Edmund Wood has his hand up.
Eddie, on you go.
Edmund.
Sorry I'm a bit late. Hey, sorry I'm a bit late. Matt, just to elaborate on that part about the general areas, unused areas that was looking after. You and several others from the council have been out to Mosnook Street, former garage site. There's one garage been knocked down. Nothing else has been done. Can you help us out on this and let us know what's happening?
Absolutely. I was at that site with yourself. Can you hear me, Eddie?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, but we're out at that site, and that is one we have allocated some funding in there to support the work that's going on there. That's a fairly big area. It would require quite a lot of substantial funding in that area. We're looking at that in conjunction with colleagues in housing, but there's no decision made as to what the best way to go forward with that. It's a big area. There's been a number of ideas put forward there, but we're happy to continue to work with a local group to see if there is anything we can do in that site.
Tell if you're not getting any.
Yeah.
They have said that there is a... Is there something? Can
carry on, Edmund. Carry on. Carry on. Carry on.
You have said that there's a security camera looking over that. Where is the security camera? Not where I live.
I'd need to have a wee look at that site, Eddie. It's a wee bit too focused on one particular area. I don't have the full information about that particular area, but I'm happy to get a wee look at it.
Right. Can I come in again?
Yep, on you go.
Right. Now, I've brought this up several times before. Roads meetings, Tenants and Residents Association meetings, and other meetings about applying speed bumps in Mosnook Street and Scarhill Street where the safe play park is. They've told us it's not feasible because it's a bus route. Why have they got them in Shawhead? It's a bus route up there. We've kids running about here. The sun's shining now, and it's starting to. I reckon it's going to be really, really warm over the next week or two. Kids will be out in force. Schools will be finishing early. They're off the whole weekend. God forbid it. Is the council doing anything about that?
That's not something I've been involved in, unfortunately. I can certainly speak to colleagues in the relevant section and get some feedback to you about your request there. I'll take that as an action and get some feedback on it for you.
I've been waiting on feedback for about 5 years. Since the late John Cahoon and I voiced our opinions about this, I've still been waiting on feedback. Nobody can help us, and nobody wants to help us.
Yeah.
Tell him it's who it is.
David Doherty speaking. We had the same situation, still do have the same situation, looking for the cushions, we call them, for Mitchell Street and Viewfield Road, where it's a racetrack. And they started at the sports bar and they put a stopwatch on to see how long it takes them to get around Woodside Street, Mitchell Street and Viewfield Road. And that's been going on. And when I raised this with various meetings at the lab, the police said that they put down their meter to check it out, and there weren't enough traffic for to have the speed dump, the cushions there. So it was turned down by the police. It wasn't turned down by the council. And we've still have the same problem now, speedsters going down. And we've got the same problem again outside Coatbridge over in Bargary, where they're battering through that village. So it's something that the police will have to maybe sort out rather than the council.
Who in the police would we go to? Because they don't seem to listen to anybody. Geraldine knows my situation. I'm not going to elaborate on here at this meeting. I'll keep that in-house just now. Thanks, Willie.
Okay.
I think going back what Matt says earlier, wasn't involved in some of the piece of work. It may be worthwhile if maybe Matt could get some information and feed it back to yourself, councillor, and yourself, Eddie, and we can move on from there. How's that sound for you, Matt?
Okay.
Yep, Chair. John Ashcroft, one of my colleagues in the council's raised a hand there. Maybe if you could give me some further information.
Right. Okay, John. Apologies, on you come, John.
No, thanks, Chair. Just to build on Eddie's point and Councillor Docherty's point, it's not that the council don't want to do anything with these things. We get lots of requests for traffic calming in every residential area. We do prioritise things. We look at accidents. We undertake speed surveys. We do all the investigation in relation to these. And then we prioritise our funding where we're going to get the biggest benefit in terms of road safety, where we're going to make the biggest improvements for that. But certainly, Eddie and Councillor Docherty, if you want to pass me the details of the streets, I'm happy to have a look at those specific locations and come back to you with individual responses for those.
Well, I'm glad to see you here. I wonder if I can have an additional question to you. It's with the same carry on of speeds in the village of Bargary. We have a set of pelican lights from one side of Bargary to the other side when people are going to the convenience store. People are telling me there's not enough time that they're getting before these lights are changing. And the speedsters is just sometimes going through a red light, but apart from that, the pedestrians has not got enough time to walk from one side of the road to the other. Could you look at the timing of that again and maybe get them reassessed?
I can have a look at it, Councillor Docherty, but just for information, while the green man may go off, all of these signals have actually got detectors on them. So the detector detects a pedestrian crossing, and then it extends the time for a pedestrian to cross by about half a second every time. So there is systems in place in terms of the technology that that protects pedestrians, but I'm certainly happy enough to have a look at that for you.
Good man, thank you.
Okay.
Hi guys, is it all right if I come in? It's David Boyle from the fire service. Apologies, I don't know how to put my hand up on this format. But just to let you know, I've just recently taken over at Coatbridge Fire Station, and we've recently sought out a road traffic or a road safety champion for North Lanarkshire, and he is situated at Coatbridge. So if I could get some of these streets as well, I will pass it on to them, and we'll certainly have a look at it as well. Plus, we will have data if there has been any incidents found about there. So happy to get the street names as well, and we can look into it and see what we can do, and we'll liaise with Police Scotland too.
Thanks.
Okay, that's great. Kristen, can I ask who's minuting this? A minute take this so these information can be passed on then?
Yeah, it's Elaine Johnson.
Elaine.
Yeah.
That'd be great, Elaine. Thanks for that. Okay, thanks for that. Moving on. It's the local outcome improvement plan, the LOIPs as they've been known. Christine Boyle and Leanne Pollock and an update on the LOIPs and the board subgroups.
Okay. Leanne, if it's okay, I'll just do a wee background just now about the Coatbridge one, and then I'll pass you over to Leanne.
Happy for you to go for it, Christine, and just bring me in as you need me.
Aye, no problem. Okay, so I wanted to start with just saying thanks to all the members of this board who have contributed to the development of the Coatbridge Local Outcome Improvement Plan. To date, there's been a whole range of engagement processes that people have got involved in, from the initial mapping, stakeholder engagement, wider community engagement and the listening events, through to the kind of triangulation, pulling together all the information that came out of all those listening events into some sort of order that gave us an idea about what the key priorities and themes were for the local area. Now, a subgroup of the board has been meeting between about February and May, and those people involved in that group have pulled together key actions that will help us to achieve the priorities, or address the priorities that have been identified by local people. We had a special community board meeting in May that a number of you were able to attend, which was great. And at that meeting, we presented, the kind of board members presented the draft action plans that were pulled together. At that meeting, it was agreed that the actions that were put forward would address the priorities, and they were happy to take them forward. So really, what I'm doing today is to say to you, you know, we've had the opportunity, everybody's had a chance to see that. We circulated all of those action plans out to everybody on the board. What we're looking for now is for the board to officially endorse the action plans so that we can pull that together in a report that will then be used to start the next stage of the kind of Lloyd process, which is actually putting things into action. You know, we've done all the discussions, we've kind of pulled together the actions. Now we need to kind of start the next step, which is moving forward from then. So what we're looking for tonight, Chair, is for the board to officially endorse the action plans that were presented at the special board meeting, but also all that was changed from the ones that were circulated was a few small points that was raised at that meeting, and they've been changed, and that will be included in the next report that will be pulled together. So if we can look at that, if the board are happy to endorse that, then we can move to the next stage. Willie, I think you're on mute.
My apologies. As I say, as Christine says, can I ask that if the board have seen the report and they're happy to endorse it, and we can get the agreement to move forward to the next stage? And I was involved in this piece of work, and it was a massive piece of work. And as I say, credit then everybody was involved in it.
Can you refresh us on that? Because we've only got the two items on this day. I think one piece of paper is in with the minutes. What's all that?
Here.
Project.
The Lloyd action plans have been circulated previously, wouldn't have, Christine? They wouldn't have been they would have not in the papers for today's meeting. They've been previously circulated, Councillor.
Right, okay, so we've got it here.
I think we found it, Matt.
Yeah.
No.
Christine, you're on mute.
Apologies, they were circulated prior to the special board meeting on the 13th of May. And Councillor Gourley, I think you'd attended the special board meeting as well. So they were circulated to all board members, and that was discussed on the night with everybody who'd come along. So the invite went out to the whole board to come along to that meeting. And as well as Chair said there, that everybody get an opportunity to say that and feed their comments in, either before or during that meeting. So we're kind of just looking for people to say, are we happy with those actions moving forward?
Okay.
Yes, I'll move it.
Okay. Are we happy then for the board to agreement to move the papers forward?
Agreed.
And obviously congratulate Christine and the Oliver board and the people involved in it. It was quite a large piece of work and a very rewarding piece of work, so well done.
Chair, if you don't mind me just saying a wee word about the next steps. I'm kind of coordinating the development of the Lights across North Lanarkshire. So the next steps is that we'll take the kind of overarching documents and get some design work done on them so that we're ready to publish and launch the kind of overarching documents. We'll then be probably doing some work between now and the next board. And I know that in Coatbridge, Christine's been doing some work with the kind of subgroup and looking at subgroups to support how the individual bits of work will be supported. And what we would hope to do is for the next round is to bring a paper that kind of outlines so how the different priorities are going to be delivered in Coatbridge. And what we'd then do is see the action template, the kind of actions that you've looked at that sit behind the kind of main document. I think that's what Christine has circulated in Coatbridge. We would look at using them at the future board meetings. So what we'll do is we'll bring them to community board meetings as an update. So we'll use them as the kind of live documents to provide an update on the individual priorities on an ongoing basis. So it was just to say that's the kind of next steps, but there's a wee bit of work over the next few months to get all the data and establish the kind of baseline information around the individual priorities and look at who's going to lead around what. I know there's been some discussion on that, but really just to get the plans, get the design work done, get them launched, get them published, and get to the next stage, which is the kind of delivery across voluntary sector organisations, working in partnership with the council, NHS, police, fire, etc.
Great, lovely. Thank you very much for that. As I say earlier, a massive and a very rewarding piece of work, so well done all involved in it. Item 8, petition benches and bins. I'm led with a multimedia presentation on a petition that was submitted to the council on behalf of the Friends of Monkland Canal by Councillor Larson. Hopefully we've got representation from the Friends of Monkland Canal, Alan McCormack and Stephen McCargo, and Mark Smith from Scottish Canal. So if they're all present, if we can move forward with that, please.
Hello, I'm Alan McCormack. I'm the chairman and founding member of Friends of Monkland Canal. I'm joined tonight with my colleague Stephen McCargo, who will, if he's here, he will give you a run through the PowerPoint presentation that we've put together. If Stephen's not here, I'm quite happy to do it. So is Stephen here?
If you got that.
Nope.
He doesn't seem to be.
I don't seem to see him, so
Sorry, Matt,
that's
are
all
you able,
yours, Alan.
are you able to open the presentation up, Matt?
Alan, Stephen was on the
Stephen's
list of
here, but
participants.
he's Stephen's here, but it looks as though he's on the phone. Stephen, can you hear us?
He's maybe trying. He's driving home from work, so he's maybe trying to find a link. If it's time sensitive, I mean, I don't know. Have you all got a copy of this?
I can. I've got a copy of your presentation, Alan. Do you want me to put it up?
Well, if you, I'll kind of walk you through it all then. If Stephen's busy just now.
Okay, yes, Kevin. Bear with me a wee second.
Put it up.
I'm going to put my camera off a wee second so that I can find it here. Okay, so if you hold on a wee second.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Stephen, we can hear you.
Stephen's
I'm in a motorway service station here, and I was on a voice call, trying to get contact with you, but obviously it didn't work. So I came on to WebEx via my 4G, so it seems to be working.
We're just about to share the presentation, Stephen. I think Annette's just about to share it, and then either yourself or Alan's going to speak to the presentation.
Yeah, it's fine. I can go through the presentation if you want, and maybe Alan you can close the chat out with some questions, whatever else.
Yeah, happy to do that.
Okay. Have you got the presentation up yet?
Annette, is it Annette that's put it up?
Yep, just bear with me. I've found it.
Thank you.
Okay, Alan, can you see that okay?
It's coming up.
Yeah, I've got my PC in the car. I can see the presentation. So
right.
Do you want me to just go through it? And
if you go through it, and I will change the slides for you. Okay.
Right, Stephen can.
Okay. So basically, do you want to move to the first slide, and then move on to the next one?
Okay, is this one?
Slide 2.
No, move on to the slide 2, please.
Slide 2.
Slide 2 is that Friends of Monkland Canal.
Yep.
Yeah, just to give everyone a background, in the past year, the group's collected over 3,000 bags of black waste bags from the Monklands Canal Paths, waterway and forest area. We've over 2,200 members on our social media page. We've also purchased litter collection equipment for the group members, and we've secured a wooden-clad container which is going to arrive in July. This is in joint partnership with Sustrans, who've purchased this container. It's going to be located at Drumperley Allotments and will be used as a community group hub, and also a storage point for new litter equipment we're buying and equipment that we're going to use to keep doing maintenance on the Monklands Canal. Can you move to the next page, please, Annette?
I'm on.
Okay. The area, the petition's basically 2 parts. So the first part was for service bins, and the second part was for benches along the canal path. the area from the main gates of the canal in Blair Road all the way to Trumpelia Lawns is no service bins. Our group members have been doing a great job cleaning the canal, its walkways and paths. However, the biggest issue we're seeing is that members of the community are tossing away bags and dog litter and general waste because there's simply no bins in that area. There are bins around the lock, but there's none in the canal paths. Can you move to the next page, please, Annette? We've had council members down to the canal paths and we've requested 3 bins to be located at the main gate entrance area at Blair Road, the intersection between the canal waterway bridge and the railway bridge, and the canal walkway entrance at Trumpelia Lawns in Bargady. Regarding benches, we've been speaking to generally older members of the community, and they reported back to us that they're loving the canal and how clean it is. However, unfortunately, they simply cannot walk the whole path as there are no bench areas to rest. Again, down in the locks in Coatbridge, there's plenty of benches, but there's none in the canal loop, which is approximately 2.6 miles in circumference. The paths now are used on a daily basis by school children. Obviously, we've got 2 new schools and join onto the canal paths. North Lanarkshire residents, more cyclists are using the canal paths. Dog walkers are using the canal path. Visitors we're finding are coming from outside the area to use the paths, joggers. And the paths are generally getting utilised more because of the new schools which are connected to the paths, the new housing estates which are also connected to the paths. There's obviously a few housing estates private and ones founded by the council which are adjoined to the paths. North Lanarkshire residents are using the paths as the area is now a lot more cleaner than it has been for a long time. People in general are enjoying outdoor activities more. In turn, this is great for our community's mental health, physical health and well-being. Friends of Monklands Canal, we've raised a petition with over 800 signatures from our community asking for additional service bins and benches. As a group, we'll continue to promote this beautiful outdoor space, namely Monklands Canal. We'll continue to help fund litter clean-up and maintenance activities, and we plan to target other areas that require some more attention. However, for over a year now, we've been contacting North Lanarkshire Council as we require help with a few service additional bins and some resting areas along the canal path for our community members. That's the petition. That's the small presentation finished. Maybe if Alan wants to join now and have a chat about it.
Yeah. How do we come back on here? I'm not.
You're still here. You're still here, Alan. Alan, just talk.
Right. Well, listen. First of all, thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Stephen, for doing that presentation. Like Stephen says, you know, just over a year ago, the group was set up, and I mean, the Monklands Canal, 250 years old, but I would say in the last year, the footfall on the canal has increased tenfold. I reckon on a daily basis, there must be a couple of hundred people walk the canal. At the weekends, I reckon it's in the thousands. And that's no exaggeration, because what's happened down here over the last year is people are actually, you know, they're recognising that this is a place of extreme beauty. It's a stunning walk, and I'd happily meet anybody that's in the meeting today and give them a walk round the canal that we're talking about, because it's very clear to see that the community in Coatbridge love this space. They've taken this canal to their hearts. They've worked really, really hard over the last year clearing litter. But the thing that constantly comes up when we're talking to members on our group, we would like to come down the canal, but we can't walk the full length of it. It'd be nice to have a couple of wee benches. The other big thing, like Stephen has said, with the increased popularity, you know, there's more dog walkers, and most people will not carry dog litter for a round trip of 2 miles, not knowing where the nearest bin is. Most folk that walk the canal path think the nearest bin is at King Street or the Lochs, so there's really no facilities for people on that stretch of water. And we really think that the community are doing their bit down there, but we don't want the community to be disheartened, thinking that all the donkey work left to them. We need 1 or 2 improvements down there, and we're asking the council, we're asking Sustrans, we're asking Scottish Canals to help us, because that's exactly where we are just now. We need help. We're happy to carry on the good work, but we need help. So, I would like you all to consider this application, this petition, and hopefully you all look upon it favourably. And and I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it. I have actually I've met John once down there at the canal, John Ashcroft. I had a really good chat with John. I'd also like to point out the bins that we're talking about, we don't actually want them on the canal path. So don't be under any misunderstanding. We're looking for the bins to be off the canal path and strategically placed somewhere just off the canal path, but accessible to be collected. So, I can't see it being terribly difficult to do. We do realise, Stephen and myself, that there's politics at play here between Scottish Canals, Sustrans and the council. But our plea to you guys is, let's knock our heads together and work something out. So, as I say, if any of you want to ask us any questions, feel free.
I would just like to say, Alan, it's Lisa Allen here. I'm actually a friend of Monklands Canal. I do some litter picking, and it's
Brilliant.
a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. Me and my wee boy's 3, and we've got pictures up on the page, and we're way out litter picking, and it's so great to see. I'm a Coatbridge girl as well. I'm here actually in a work capacity tonight, but just because this has been brought up, I thought I would speak out. It's great to see the difference down there. I'm originally from Gutcherry, so I've been about that canal all in my life, and it's some difference. It's
Right.
so refreshing, and to see all the other people. I've got a few good friends, Lorraine and Nikki, who also help out all the time, doing the litter picking, and it's just brilliant to see the transformation in the place, because never before has it looked so nice. And it's the pictures that come up on the group as well. So the guys are doing great work. So I think a few benches and a few bins, it's not really going to break the bank, is it?
I wouldn't have thought so.
Can I come in for a wee second? Yeah, I just wanted to say, for anybody that's not been down and seen the work that this community group have done, it's absolutely transformative. I couldn't believe it when I seen it myself, and I know there's other people here that have been and had a visit. Yourself, John, I don't know if Matt you've been, but it's absolutely amazing what they've achieved. And not only have they increased opportunities for safe outdoor activity for mental and physical well-being, but they've also increased really the footfall going that path, and it quite often takes them up to Drumpellier and the Lochs and so on. And I just encourage anybody here that's not been down for a wee visit to the canal recently to take a wee trip down, because you wouldn't believe it. It's quite amazing. Thanks.
Thanks, Kirsten.
Billy, you're on mute.
Apologies, Councillor Castles, and you come.
Yeah, I agree with the other speakers that that's fantastic. I've been living in this area for a long time, and only I realized for the last couple of years now that the changes which has taken place, and it seems quite secure place to go for a walk, especially if you go on your own. And I agree with that there is a need for improvement, especially because we get so much rain. So there is always very, very mucky as well. So there are some areas which need maybe, say, a little bit improvement. Otherwise, there has been great improvement there. Now, I live in Burnside Walk, and we've got a garden behind our houses. Believe you me, that every few months we take the bike and all sorts of, the rubbish out, because when you look, we call it canal anyway, but when you look at it, it's beautiful. My neighbors, they have improved the area, that bit as well. No one cleans, and we try to do as much as we can. And it's such a beautiful, when in the at the back of our houses, but people are throwing all sorts of rubbish. It's not just the black bags rubbish. It's more than that.
Thanks for that, Bushra. Can I just ask, apologies, Councillor Castles, you want to come in now?
Yeah, thanks. I don't know if there's going to be any other response on it, on the petition, but I have to say I've noticed as well how great the canal's looking. People have put a lot of work in, and you can't be unstinting in your praise for that. It's an area I've walked myself, and it's a great pleasure walking it. I think we agreed that the bins and the benches would be a great idea along, because there's a need for it. It's how we move that forward, because the paper that's out does tell us that the council has no locus in that. It doesn't own the land. It has no entitlement or right to put any of that down there. It's the canal group who have that responsibility. I didn't even realise that it's their responsibility to keep that area clear, because they're responsible for the land that they own. And the way of progressing it is to try and find, I don't know if you wanted to work with the canal group to get them to finance the seats. I've been racking my brains thinking of the other canals in Scotland, the Union and the Forth and Clyde canal seating provision they've put in there, and I'm pretty sure they have. I'm pretty sure out Kirkintilloch that they have seats, and they may have bins. I don't recollect it entirely, but the process, to me, what seems to be now is the process would be through working with the Scottish Canals, to get them to take a look at that area. I know it's not connected to the main area, but certainly the council, and I'm aware of that, and that it's got no rights or ability. It can't just go and put benches down and say, we're putting benches, we're going to take over. That isn't how the process works. And it has to be done through
John Ashcroft here from the council to speak to the report.
Sorry, Matt.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. Councillor, is it worth me sort of going through the report? Just the key points. I won't go through it verbatim, but I mean, the first thing I'd like to say is to Alan and Stephen, and congratulate them on the good work they've done. I did go a walk down there with Alan, and it's clear to say some of the before and after pictures have made some significant difference down there, and I can only imagine that it's an entirely different place to what it was before the group got involved in that. Councillor Castles mentioned a couple of points there in relation to land ownership. Land ownership is out with the council's realm. It falls with Scottish Canals, and in terms of the Environmental Protection Act, the landowner has that responsibility for removing refuse. That said, the council has worked with the group. The council's moved a significant amount of refuse from there and disposed of it, and we continue to coordinate any litter picks and removals. The one important thing that the council's about to embark on is a change to how we actually service our litter bins. So at the minute, a lot of our litter bins are very small capacity. So within a small period of time, they overfill, the rubbish falls into the environment, and it has a detrimental effect on the entire area. We're about to start removing them and move to much bigger bins, which will be 360 litres or 240 litres, and they will be lifted mechanically. So we'll move away from a manual process, which is benefits in terms of health and safety for our own guys and environmental improvements, because there's less vehicle movements on the road network. That would make it difficult for us to maintain any bins in a remote area. And I appreciate where you're coming from Monklands Canal, but if I'm taking a holistic approach to that, we've got thousands of kilometres of rural routes across the entire council area, and it would be difficult for me to say that we would support something here and not somewhere else. I suppose servicing that in terms of the report, a cost of a bench isn't dear, cost of a bin isn't dear, but it is actually the servicing, because you would be having to service a bin like that probably every day in a small for a small capacity bin on the canal. I've said in the report I'm happy to work with the group, Monklands Canal Group. I think we've spoken before, Alan, in terms of Blair Road. We can accommodate a bin at the entrance there, and I'm happy to look at any of the other entrances as part of our rollout of our bin project, which should happen over the coming year. If anybody's got any questions, I'm happy to take that.
Could I come in a wee second, John? I just quickly, do you know, I hear what you're saying, and I don't want to bark up a tree, so to speak, that's not going to get me anywhere. So the group have already had multi kind of stakeholder meetings with Scottish Canals and with the council and with the MSP, and I know that another one's in the pipeline. You'll appreciate, and I'm sure you've got kind of knowledge of the Scottish Canals, that they are, you know, they just aren't set up to do this kind of thing, to service bins and all the rest of it in the way that the council are. So I'm wondering, just although it doesn't belong to the council, the land, it does service council land, and it does as well. We're hearing that thousands of people are there every week now wanting to sit down if they're elderly or if they're frail, you know, wanting to put rubbish in a bin and not carry it with them for miles. I just wonder, is there maybe a sort of a halfway point that we could meet these guys at, in terms of giving them something?
I think
they have done such amazing work.
Yep, I agree. I think the halfway point is providing the bins on our network that we can service with the vehicles that we use. Absolutely no issue with that, but providing remote bins really just wouldn't be feasible for us going forward. I mean, you could have a bin halfway along a canal, could take somebody 20 minutes to get to it and 20 minutes to come back.
I don't think Alan's ever suggested that, though. He was looking, I'm going to let you come in 2 seconds, Alan. He was looking at just where you actually leave the canal and you're going up towards the Drumpellier Farm estate. Obviously, that is serviced by the council because it's an estate. Do you know what I mean? And so there's a sort of a wee shoot off, if you like.
That's it, man, Alan, before you come in, just I'm conscious Mark Smith from Scottish Canals is waiting to come in, so with Mark from Scottish Canals, and then we'll have Stephen and then Alan after that. That's okay. So
Fine, yep.
Mark, on you go.
Hi, thank you very much. Yeah, I don't recognise too many faces around this table, but there are a couple of key folk here that we've spoken to. And I have to echo John's feelings in terms of the resource to pick it up. We have one guy who goes down the Monklands canals daily to do water control, and that's all we are. In terms of investing in bins, similar to John, it's something we're happy to pay for. The biggest issue we have is when the small capacity bins are full, they have to be lifted and laid. And again, I think that's where Stevie and Alan have come in talking about the ease of them potentially being able to do it. So if we're only talking about buying bins and seats, I think I'm happy to put money on the table, even pay for all of it if it comes to it. There's not that many we're talking about. But I share John's feelings about getting the rubbish to a collection point. And so the last thing again, I think it was Kirsten mentioned it, is that as a navigation authority, I recognise we have a legal obligation to clear up, but we're just not really built as a cleansing authority, and we struggle with that across the wider network. And again, I think it's why the Friends of Monklands Canal has made such a massive difference, because littering across the whole network is a problem. And as you see people come out and taking that rubbish away, the transformation is incredibly noticeable, because it's the one thing that probably irritates most people greatly about our green spaces is littering. So I think in summary, I would like to help. I would like to put money towards infrastructure, but I don't really want to commit to having staff on site on a daily basis to empty bins if I can possibly avoid it.
Thanks for that, Mark. Stephen, you want to come back in?
I think it was Alan.
I've got Stephen McCargo, his hand up. Stephen or Alan, either or.
Stephen, I don't know.
Stephen, you're on mute.
You're on mute, Stephen.
Right, well, will I take this one then?
Yeah, you take it, Alan. Yeah.
Listen, I can hear what you're saying, Mark. I'm going to ask you a question. How long does it take you to walk 100 steps? Because 100 steps, that doesn't take 20 minutes, right? One of the places I've spoke to John, I get what you're saying here, but the places that we want these bins, we've thought long and hard about it. One of them is maybe 80 steps from the main road. The other one's maybe 100 steps from another road that you service at Drumpellier. And the other one's down at the one at Drumpellier Lawns End is slightly longer. I'll give you that. But I think, you know, I mean, yeah, we would welcome bins and benches. And yes, we will continue to do what we're doing. But I think we need a wee bit more than that. We need a bit more than that. We're only asking a bin man to walk 50 steps. We're asking one of your collectors to walk maybe 100 steps. That's not hard work. That's not time consuming. Not compared with what we're doing. And I think it's an easy cop out to say, you know, we're just not doing that and expect Friends of Monklands Canal to pick up the amount of dog litter that we're picking up. I think that's very, very, I think that's not seeing the big picture down there. I think you will demoralise the group by not helping us. I think if you're asking us to service these bins, as well as tidying up the general waste on the canal and actually carrying out maintenance on the canal, we're loving it. The place is looking fantastic. But we want North Lanarkshire Council, Sustrans, Scottish Canals to take a bit of responsibility. That's all we're asking. We reckon the Monklands Canal could win awards. It could. We're looking to enter it in beautiful Scotland. Now, this is raising the profile of Coatbridge. This isn't just about the Monklands Canal. This is about the whole community in Coatbridge and giving Coatbridge people something to be proud of. Now, if I was in charge, I'd back it all the way, right? And we would really like you to just, you know, yeah, compromise. We can compromise. Our compromise is we will carry on collecting litter. But we need help for you guys. We really do. And we're not asking a lot. One of them is 100 steps. The other one's maybe 70 or 80 steps. So that's 2 of your bins, and you've not even got 150 steps involved in it. So I don't know what you think of that, but you know, you need to excuse my frustration at this because I don't get it. You know, I really don't.
Yeah. Can you hear me now, guys?
Yes.
We can hear you, Stephen.
Yeah, just go back to Alan's point. You know, the bins for us is just hopefully the start of great things down the canal. We're trying to do infrastructure projects where we're trying to get the paths done up, we're trying to get walls rebuilt, we're trying to keep the area clean, bridges done, that hopefully one day we'll even get the small pier done. But, you know, if we can't go over the line with a few bins, you know, as Alan says, it will start, we're trying to say, okay, we're moving forward here. The council and the council have helped, as John said. They've taken away bins, but we need some help with a few bins so we can move forward and we can go on with other stuff, because people will keep collecting the general rubbish down there, but it's going to be a stage that you can't expect people to be going about servicing bins and not have any help from the council or Scottish Canals. We need something. We need to bang our heads together here and get this sorted out so we can move forward. And the benches as well, you know, we're talking about a few benches, you know, maybe discrete benches where an old age pensioner can maybe have a wee seat halfway along a canal path, then say, okay, maybe they're thinking to themselves, if I'm not going to go down that canal path today because there's nowhere for me to have a seat, that's no good, you know what I mean? Them giving up before they even get a chance to go down there. So from both points, you know, I don't know how you're going to do it, but it'd be great if you could try and get something sorted out between yourselves and we can move forward in this. Then we can work on other things.
Okay, can I move on in this then? Obviously, I've got Mark with his hand up, but before Mark comes in, Ryan Kelly's been waiting to come in, so we want to come in first, Ryan, and then Mark can come in, and we'll continue with this quite emotive discussion.
Cheers, William. So I used to walk back home along that canal, and having been there sort of more recently, you know, it's absolutely night and day. I hadn't realised that the Friends of the Canal group had sort of done all that amazing work, so props to you for that. Yeah, I think it's something that's more than needed, and it'd be great to see the council and the Scottish Canals come together to sort of discuss this. You know, I was having a look through the report and saying there's no sort of, in your impact assessment, there's no environmental impact to this. There is, it will be a positive environmental impact. You know, people will be less likely to dump rubbish along that canal path. And as well as that, it also makes the canal more accessible, having benches for disabled young people and also the elderly people to walk along the canal path. This seems like a no-brainer. So I'd urge the council and Scottish Canals to come together along with the Friends of the Canal group to sort of discuss this and see how we can bring about, you know, bins and benches along that canal area.
Thanks for that, Ryan. Mark?
Thanks again, William. Again, for me, the investment in the bins and the chairs is relatively minor. It's really the servicing of those bins. I have one guy who goes through once a day and he can service those bins on his way through. I'm quite happy with that, but it will be only one lift a day. If that's a contribution that makes life a wee bit easier, I'm absolutely happy to put it in place, and I'm absolutely happy to put the money towards the bins as well. However, my experience with bins at the moment is that they take more than one service a day. And so if the Friends of the Monklands Canal are content with one service a day, I'm happy to put it in place once we put the bins in place. But that it really is as much as I can get, because we only have that one employee, and he covers the whole of the network. I should say he's just doing water control there, but he covers the extremities of the canal, and he goes out to the landing stage at the end next to the railway. So he is going along that length, and lifting a bin and taking it with him isn't untoward from that perspective, but it's just a limitation on his time on that day. So my apologies if it's not enough, but I think it is a step forward at least.
Max, that sounds amazing. I don't know if they were expecting once a day, Alan. What are you expecting once a day?
I'm quite happy with that offer, Mark. That sounds fine. Like I said this earlier, you know, the bins aren't actually going to be on the canal path themselves. We're not wanting them on the canal path because we realise the issues that causes, you know. So our plan was basically having a couple of bins with a sign saying bin 50 yards this way. You know, we've given this a lot of thought, but you're offer at least one guy going down there once a day is fantastic. I mean, that's a big step forward as far as I can see. So if that we're pleased to accept that offer, Mark. You know, maybe North Lanarkshire can help us. We maybe you know, let's just work. If we can work together, that'd be great.
Thanks for that. I think, as I say, this last 50 minutes has been quite an interesting piece of work. And I think it's ongoing discussions with the Friends of the Canal, the Scottish Canals and the Council, and move this forward. But there's certainly innovative ideas. And again, congratulations to everybody involved in it. So, is this probably a continued dialogue to keep the improvements moving forward? Thank you very much for that.
Chair John Ashcroft's raised a hand just to come back in on this subject.
Okay. And you come, John.
Sorry, Chair, I'll try and not prolong this, but I just want to reiterate my point earlier on that we're happy to work with the group to identify locations on our network that can be added to our mechanical lifting programme as we move forward. We're going to start in the north area, hopefully in the next few weeks. You will probably see if you visit Drumpelia that the new bins have started to go in Drumpelia, and we're moving away from the small capacity bins at those locations, and they'll be serviced twice weekly by our RCVs. So happy to work with the group at any stage once we get to that point.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Did we agree on benches?
I think Mark said he was happy to do the benches as well. I think I heard that in the last conversation.
Can I just come in? Is that possible as well?
Sorry, carry on. You're going to never notice your name there.
Hi, my name's Sarah Jane Allen, and I'm here representing the Disability Access Panel, now known as the Access Panel in North Lanarkshire. I live in Coatbridge, and I would love to be able to access the canal. And I think, well, for me personally, having the benches and having bins in discrete places would be a lot easier for me, because I can't at the current moment access it due to the fact that I would need resting places, and other people with disabilities like myself would need the same. So I didn't realise if the benches had been agreed or not, but that would be a great help to allow full access to the full of Coatbridge, even with people with different varying needs. Because without that being put in place, I wouldn't really be able to access it, because I can't walk the full length of it without having a rest or a break. I've not really been introduced, so I'm just here representing as I said, the Access Panel in North Lanarkshire.
Lovely, that's great. Thanks for that. Well, I think there's certainly positive moves on the petition tonight, and I think it's just continued dialogue, folks, and good luck in everything you're doing in relation to the canal. Wonderful piece of work. Okay, moving on. Item 9, community matters. We've got any input from any local community groups? Christine, do you have anything for us?
I think Bushra had a couple of points that she wanted to raise.
Yes, Bushra, she's got the voluntary sector organisational capacity building in relation to digital systems. Quite a long-falutin word, Bushra. The floor's yours. You're on mute.
You get so excited you got the opportunity, and then you don't even turn on your mic. Okay. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I feel because I work with grassroots community, and I know how difficult it is to be on professional level, to play your role when you are representing your community. This is a digital world, and looking at the minority ethnic people, obviously English is their second language. No matter they are already a bit disadvantaged, and this sort of skill, to deal with the digital world, it is quite difficult for all groups, not only minority, but the other voluntary sector organizations as well. So we need to improve, our voluntary sector organizations' ability to become real partner. So my question was that what council is at the moment doing with regard to that capacity building. With the changes, there has been so much changes now, and it's going to be, in particularly the health board is going to be also running program which will be digital service provision, and the council and the other public sector organization partners. So this is something which is really important to look into.
Okay, does anyone like to come back and feedback any questions or any answers they can give to Bushra? Christine McNally.
Hi Bushra. North Lanarkshire Digital's doing a lot of work just now on digital education for people and setting up courses. Voluntary Action North Lanarkshire has a system going as well. We have digital programs going on to around befriending and listening and learning about how to use the digital platforms that are there. So there's quite a lot going on. So if you give me a wee contact, maybe tomorrow, I can give you all the details of what's happening within the locality. And there's also a way of getting free equipment as well, if that's required. So get in touch with me. There are a number of sources out there that can help you out.
That
Okay.
will be wonderful, Christine. However, the Vanal, we had a short meeting as well. I don't know, there isn't any representative from Vanal today. And we did discuss and we agreed that this is something we should be going to the council. And that was the Vanal representative there.
Right. Okay.
So we never got even one chance where we could have, I agree with you that Vanal plays or should be playing a big role here to build the capacity of local voluntary sector. However, I haven't received even one notification where they are running such courses and, they.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get in touch with me and we'll see what we can
Okay,
bring up to
I
that.
will.
But there are sources out there that can help you. So it's just about
Excellent.
tackling down the
Excellent.
right source for you. So if you give me a
Okay.
wee shout tomorrow, okay?
I mean, it's not just my organization
No.
in Coatbridge, others as well across Lanarkshire area. I know because we share with each other, the information. So it's the same with every, I would say minority ethnic organization at the moment. They are struggling.
Right. Maybe you've raised an issue around your marketing of the programs that are out there. So maybe we should be looking at that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Christine. Speak
Can
to
I
you.
just come in there? I work, as I said, with the Access Panel, and we're kind of voluntary, and we also work in conjunction with North Lanarkshire Council. We've not so far had a lot of the meetings that you're saying there's things available. We know there's things available, but we've not been notified of any kind of training or anything that's going on. It's just in our community. Digital does get used, but digital does not get used as a priority version of communication, because it's very, very difficult. And the one concern we've all got as a disabled community, if you want to call it that, is that we'll get kind of left behind, because not every single person is going to be able to go totally digital. So I would want reassurances that there's going to be the old ways of communication aren't going away, and there's going to be basically this is a new way of communicating with the council, but it's not eventually going to be the only way, because it might not suit everybody or work for everybody. And I'm not just talking about people with disabilities, I'm talking about people that don't have disabilities that cannot access what you need access to do the digital. So I'm all for the digital, but we need to remember there will be a part of the community might be left behind if we go totally digital. And as long as the other ways of keeping communications open, like the phone, like one-stop shops, like face-to-face, eventually come back, then that's fine. But as long as we don't lose that and that choice gets taken away, because for some people, I'm really sorry, the digital isn't going to work. For the majority it will, but you can't just leave out the ones that will not work for. I don't know.
Sorry to say it, I've got to agree with you there. We do need to keep the human touch, and the various methods of communication have to be there. I'm very aware of that.
You just said there's teaching tools and there's classes. We're not hearing about that in our
I know.
groups. So
I've just said that maybe we've highlighted an issue around the marketing of it, and it's something that we need to look at. I'll certainly bring it up at the consortium again. I can certainly approach Van El about it, because we've obviously got an issue there with the marketing.
Also, as North Lanarkshire Council representatives, can you assure me that for the people where digital doesn't work, the old-fashioned way of doing it will still remain? Because I found it very difficult to contact anybody in North Lanarkshire Council for my personal reasons during lockdown. I have recently, thank God, but it's took me over a year to try and get a human person to speak to about issues. And I'm a very outspoken person, and if I'm finding it difficult, I can just imagine what some other people are finding it like. So I'm just wanting a reassurance that although we're going very digital for the elderly, the disabled, the minority groups, we're not going to lose the other ways of communication, and it's not going to go all digital and never mind the rest. Because I'm from Coatbridge, and I, for one, won't be allowing that to happen if it's going to overtake the other ways of doing it, like the one-stop shops. Like the phone would be lovely right now, instead of getting an answering machine saying it's full. And that if you're homeless, then contact this number. But if you want to contact us right now, could you do the central email, please? Even though you try that and you don't get a response half the time. I've recently got a response to that. I'm just like a dog with a bone. But a lot of people with disabilities aren't able to do that and have not got the access panel behind them. Because we are the access panel, and we're not just for disabled people, we're about access. So I was just putting that out there, that the digital thing's brilliant and I'm all for it, but please don't forget that's not going to fit every person in Coatbridge or in North Lanarkshire.
Sarah, can I come in on that? That's great. We totally understand your comments, your inputs on that. In relation, is there any other community groups want to bring in some inputs on what's been happening within the local community? You were on, Christine, talk about the community solutions. Maybe that'd be an idea to.
Yeah, I had the community. I know I haven't put it out to the consortium yet, but we now have funding available. I think we'll all be happy to know that. So we're open to accept applications for funding around health and wellbeing from community groups. So it's a case of getting in touch with us or any member of the consortium. Willie McBride's one, Annette Warren's one, Elaine Johnston's a member. So get in touch with them. Christine Boyle's a member. So if there's anybody wanting advice on the community solutions local activity fund, then please get in touch with us.
Okay, that's great. Just probably wear my other hat, not as the chair of the community board tonight, but as the project manager of the Kipshaw's Neighbourhood Centre. I take on board what Sarah's saying about the social or the media side of things. We are now getting our facility open to the community in a safe and secure manner to bring the people back in and do the face-to-face. So we're doing a kind of a 50-50 of face-to-face and the social media side of things, and most of our activities are back up and running. So even if Sarah was to contact myself, we could give her some ideas on some of the stuff we're doing based on IT classes, same with Bushra, where it'd be a kind of 50-50 medium, because we're concerned as well that not everybody's social media savvy, and they do miss the face-to-face aspect of training, tutoring, or just the social involvement in it. So we've got a wide range of services and activities taking place. Sorry, Matt, I know it's your hand up.
Thanks, Chair. Just for a minute, just to pick up on what we said there from the contribution from the access panel. The last cycle, you recall the digital NAL, the input there, and there's a commitment there that we will listen to all the views of our local communities in terms of taking that forward, and give assurance that we'll make sure it's fed back to the group looking at that, to ensure that there is further engagement with the access panel and other groups who have got a really valuable contribution to make, that we're not leaving anybody behind, and access will be maintained for those who can't access digital or for some reason don't want to access digital, and we need to ensure that there's access for all for these things. We'll make sure that's fed back.
Thank you.
Hi, can
Thank
I
you.
just come in there
Hang
as
on,
well?
Councillor Larson. Councillor Larson.
Thank you. I was just going to come in off the back of what Sarah was saying. It's been in my head for a wee while. After the first lockdown, I'm sure other elected members are the same. I was contacted by a couple of community groups who they really organised outdoor activities for people who had disability issues or disability access issues, and some of the community groups were saying that when we opened back up services after the first lockdown, we didn't open up things like the disabled toilets, and so people that previously maybe went to Summerlee or went to Drumpellier, it just wasn't an option. I'm just wondering if we're having that thing, Matt, where we're feeding into future boards, I wonder if it might be an idea to have some kind of a quality mechanism focus on it, if that's a possibility, if it's something we could just think about.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's absolutely. I can have further discussions with you regarding that to see how you think that would look, but definitely.
Councillor Castles, will you want to come in?
Yeah, just very briefly on the idea of the phone messaging, that's already been raised. And hopefully we'll make some progress on that. That's not been ignored, that has been raised, that people still dependent for various reasons on making phone calls. And obviously there have been issues because of COVID, but that's certainly been processed.
It's just in a general sense to make sure that that the old-fashioned ways of communication aren't going to get taken away because there's going to be some people not going to be able to go digital or do digital for varying different reasons. It's just to make sure that the digital will be there as one of the main ways, but it won't be the only way, because that's the concern in the community I live in.
Mark, could I come in, please?
And you come, Councillor Gourley, and you come.
Tommy Castles is exactly right. It has been raised by several councillors of all parties regarding the disabled people and the people who may not have the capabilities for IT, which is tragic in this day and age, but that's just the way it is. They will not be left behind, nor should be left behind. At the end of the day, we are there to represent all the community, not just individuals. And I hope that Tommy and myself and all the councillors will push this forward. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
I was just wanting to come in and say I work for Who Cares Scotland as advocacy and participation for young people within North Lanarkshire. And digital is great, and it's really been wonderful for us as a working team. But what we found over lockdown is the young people didn't want to engage. They don't want to sit in front of screens for hours. It was even a struggle, especially with the younger ones, to even get them to speak on a phone. And then we had the ones who couldn't afford, who don't have Wi-Fi and couldn't afford to top up their phones to be able to engage in the digital world. So it's not even just about the older generation, it's the younger ones who you would imagine would love the digital world. When it comes, it's okay talking to their friends, but when it comes to work-based things and us trying to support them, they weren't interested. Even our local TNT group, who's the Champions Board, struggled with coming on and doing the virtual meetings. So we were having to work with them on a one-to-one basis and feedback. So it is much bigger, and I assure the digital ways than you would maybe realise at first, because at first everybody thinks, oh, everybody will go digital. That's great, but for a lot of people, especially our kids who have maybe got anxiety or social anxieties and things like that, they really struggle with sitting on a screen with everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Lisa. I think certainly in the discussions here, the consensus is certainly the digital's here for the long term, but let's not forget the old way of working, which is, if anybody's seen the recent Scottish Mental Arts Festival videos, what is normal, going back to the normality, what is normal. So I think we'll move on for that, and as I say, we'll ensure that whatever we do is certainly services for the benefit of the whole community, and everybody's included. Okay, moving on, folks. Item 10, input from community planning partners. Have we got a representative from the police, please?
Yeah, good evening. Claire McGuckin from the community policing team that covers both Coatbridge and Deirdre.
Good evening, Claire.
First of all, if I can just pick up on something from the minutes from the last meeting that we had. I spoke about acquisitive crime at that time, particularly down round about Faraday Retail Park and the town centre. There had been a spate of specifically targeted high value thefts. I just want to update everybody that we have identified those responsible, and there's been a case reported to the Procurator Fiscal for 15 crimes in total. Which the value for the thefts for that was over £4,000. Again, you know, had it not been for the help of the retail community, we probably wouldn't have got that identified or got these individuals identified so quickly. And with the benefit of that, we've been able to share that information across the division, in particular for the other retail parks that were being targeted as well. So that was probably a good news story from the last one round. If I can just pick up on the comments that were made earlier about the speeding issues in Coatbridge. Last week, my community team here at Airdrie conducted a joint day of action across Airdrie and the villages, where we had the support of Road Policing Department in Lanarkshire, and they targeted speeding complaints, they targeted areas where speeding has been prolific, when we've had complaints from members of the public, and also they basically targeted drivers in general terms for other offences. It is my intention to replicate that in the Coatbridge area, and like was discussed earlier, if there are particular streets and places that you as a community feel we should be concentrating on, then I would be more than happy to receive that information, and that will allow us to tailor our day that we come targeting the drivers that you're complaining about. We can target them a bit better. My update for you just now in terms of criminality in Coatbridge, housebreaking I know is always at the point of discussion. Domestic housebreakings in the last 3 months, there have been 6 reported domestic housebreakings across the Coatbridge area, 2 of which are currently detected, so there are persons locked up for them or being charged with them. The other 4 unfortunately remain undetected at the moment. However, there are positive lines of inquiry and scenes of crime examinations that we await results on for them, the ones that have not been detected as yet, then hopefully we will get a result for that. I discussed at the last meeting fire reasons in the town centre, and I'm not trying to steal my colleague's thunder at Scottish Fire and Rescue. I'm sure that he'll come on to that as well. But again, we have seen a further 12 fire reasons across the Coatbridge area. Particularly affected would appear to be wheelie bins, and again we've had a couple of the industrial sized wheelie bins setting fire. It would appear to be youths that have been responsible for that. In terms of that, we're only sitting at 2 of these incidents being detected and persons charged for them. I spoke previously about bogus crime, and if I could just touch on that again at this meeting. We're all aware that there's been an increase, particularly online, of fraudulent activity and scams where people have been caught out and taken advantage of, money removed from their bank accounts, etc. We are seeing a particular increase as well on cold callers from on mobile phones. I would encourage people to take heed of the information that we're putting out there. I know that from the conversations that are taking place tonight, perhaps we're not managing to meet the needs of all of our community. However, from part of the discussion we had at the last meeting, we have been engaging with health in terms of information, leafleting, and we are placing leaflets into prescriptions so that people who maybe are not getting access to information online, perhaps members of the kind of older community that we have, they are getting this information out to them by way of leaflets and their prescriptions. It certainly is a positive attempt at engaging with people, and we have used it across the other offices as well. It's not simply at Coatbridge, we're using it across here at Airdrie and also through in Cumbernauld. Disorder and antisocial behaviour, I know, is always a topic which gives great consternation in the community. We have had, from my community policing team, proactive patrols both in uniform and in plain clothes down round about Langone in the West End Park. Youths have been charged down there. Drug offences detected, a lot of alcohol consumption as well, and we've taken action where appropriate. Also, in terms of that, where the youths have been underage, we are ensuring that parents are made aware of what's happening down there, where perhaps parents are unaware because their children are out of sight. We again are continuing with the joint patrols with staff from North Lanarkshire Council addressing antisocial behaviour. That was one thing that had been put on hold, shall we say, whilst the lockdown was in place and COVID restrictions were in place. However, that's back up and running, and our last late shift, both across Coatbridge and Airdrie, we did conduct joint patrols with the staff from North Lanarkshire. That's probably all that I really want to give you an update on, and I'm quite happy to take any questions if anybody has anything.
Thank you, Claire. Anybody got any questions, points?
Claire, could I just ask, I'm aware of an elderly lady in Sherry who walked her wee dog 4, 5, 6 times a day. 2 men went to her house to see they were from the water board, and she let them in and they robbed her. This wee lady will not leave the house now. She even struggles to walk her wee dog. Is it possible, and if, from what I gathered, they've actually done it to a few other homes in round about Coatbridge, is it even possible to do a leaflet drop for the elderly who maybe don't get a prescription, because they're not all going to get a prescription? This old lady is now not even answering her door to her neighbours who normally make her a wee pot of homemade soup and things like that. My mum works in a local shop in Sherry, and she's even stopped going to the shop as often. We're not aware if she has any family that's helping her, and she's not answering the door to people. So would a leaflet drop at all be possible to try and get to those who are missed?
Yeah, absolutely, Lisa. I couldn't agree with you more. That's certainly something that we can look at. If you want to put an email address onto the chat bar, I'll take a note of it and I'll get in touch with you tomorrow if that would be okay.
Yeah, that would be lovely, thank you.
No problem at all.
Okay, that's great, Claire. Sorry, somebody want to come in. Councillor Latson, carry on.
Thank you. Claire, thanks very much for that update. I'm asking this question for myself, but it's also Councillor Carragher's just messaged me to say, will you ask this? So I'm asking why, I'm assuming it's to do with the pandemic, but we used to have local kind of councillor updates with the police in our individual areas, and we were allocated a person, but we've not had anything like that, I think, for the best part of a year. Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, unfortunately, because of what has happened with the pandemic, the local council meetings that we have had and that the officers have attended and provided, you know, your ward area updates, they have been put on hold because there was to be no face-to-face meetings. But this is something that we absolutely will get back up and running now that things are starting to ease a bit.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Claire. So we'll move on to...
Can I just finish off first, well, today by saying the next community board meeting, I'm not going to be able to make it because I'm going to be on annual leave, but I'll get somebody else to cover it. And tonight will be the last time that I represent the police at the community board meeting because I retire in October. So my replacement, once they are confirmed, Chair, I will make sure that you're aware of who that's going to be. But I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank everybody for the support that you've given the CP team down at Coatbridge and the response officers at Coatbridge. And I'm sure that when my counterpart steps in and takes over, then he will be more than happy to work with you and continue the good work that's been done in the community. So thank you for your help.
Thank you very much, Claire, and enjoy your retirement when it comes.
I shall try hard, thank you.
Thank you very much. Fire and Rescue.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think Christine's going to put up a paper if she can. If not, it's all right. I can do it verbally, and hopefully Christine can put it through round to you all. Not looks as if she's bringing it up. That's good. So first of all, just like to say hello, and I'm really pleased to be here. My name's David Boyle. I'm Station Commander for Coatbridge. Took up post there on the 10th of May, so just over 2 weeks ago. Previously to that, I was up at Bells Hill, so I was in North Lanarkshire, and I worked previously within Coatbridge Fire Station as a watch commander. So I've got a good idea of the area, and I've got a good idea of where we want to go within North Lanarkshire. So at the moment, I'm just trying to get myself up to speed with everything that's been going on before me. But I'll just give you this wee report. What I've done is I've produced a report, and it's basically the previous quarter of this year. So it's quarter 4 of our financial year, which takes us from January to March. If you just move down, please, Christine, just down to the local firefighter training plan, just to let you know that what we're doing training wise is where we are just now is in the last quarter there we undertook sewers and underground structures, incident command and rural and wildfires. That was in January, February, March. Just go on to our sort of statistics. So we're up to accidental dwelling fires, which is fires in the home. If you look at, I've got a sort of traffic light system in place here. So if we go up to accidental dwelling fires, the red is the worst year. So I've put it over the last 3 years with averages in. Red is the worst year, amber is the sort of middle ground and green is the best year. So if we look at accidental dwelling fires, within this year, we've had 4 within the board area, which is really good. That is really good. But we are a wee bit, no, we're well below average. In fact, 10.3 is the average across the board. So we're well down in that. And 50% of these fires in the home were basically in the kitchen. That was the most common place. That's a common theme throughout North Lanarkshire, the rest of Scotland, and hopefully we will work with our partners to identify, educate, and protect those highest at risks. So if we can get to these people that perhaps need that wee bit of education through home fire safety visits, we'll be looking at that. The next KPI down is our accidental fire casualties. Really pleased to see that in that quarter we've had nothing at all. That's really good. I don't know if that's attributed to more people being in the house just now. I'm not sure, but it's really good. I'm just looking at statistics. I'm very pleased with that. So hopefully we can continue with that. Down to the next KPI, which we're sitting at deliberate secondary fires. Just as my colleague was saying there from Police Scotland, this is an issue, not just, I would imagine, in Coatbridge, but throughout the area. Obviously, when I was in Bells Hill, the wheelie bin fires is a big issue. We've had a lot of engagement. So there's been a substantial rise in deliberate fire setting across everywhere in North Lanarkshire. And we've got a community action team and station personnel working in partnership with our partners in Police Scotland and also with North Lanarkshire social work as well. And we're looking at, the big thing we've got just now is antisocial behaviour, deliberate fire setting. Once we get a wee spate of good weather, always within North Lanarkshire, the big one for us is grass fires. After the wheelie bins, we're looking to get initiatives going, find out the hotspots and see if we can distribute literature, get chains and padlocks for the wheelie bins as well. We need to work in conjunction with the tenants and also any of the duty holders that they rent from as well. So we're looking at fly tipping as well. There's a lot of areas within North Lanarkshire that have been identified as fly tipping locations, and we're trying to get them uplifted, working with Dumb Dumpers and Zero Waste Scotland, and also I know there's initiatives going on with Keep Scotland Beautiful as well, and we're trying to be proactive before they get set in fire. So if there's big amounts of rubbish, trying to get a hold of them first before they get set in fire. Moving down into non-domestic property. So non-domestic properties were commercial properties, factories, offices, schools, pubs, that kind of thing. So looking at that, we've been down a wee bit within the last quarter there. So we've actually went 3 in total across the community board. And if what happens with that is any fires within a commercial premise, our fire enforcement teams will make a visit to it and we'll be ascertaining if legislation's been followed, if they've been following the correct legislation, it's not been a dangerous place to work. If there's any trends, perhaps with machinery or any sort of processes they use, and also if there's any criminal acts that have been taking place and hopefully get some prosecution. So that's moving on from there. We've got casualties from non-fire emergencies, what we would call before as special services. So a special service for us would be attending RTCs, so non-fires, RTCs, locked out tenants, flooding, water rescues, and the like. So we're working more closely with our partners in Police Scotland and the Scottish Ambulance Service, and that's to assist with forced entry to premises, and that's to save life in a medical emergency. So if we get a call from any of our partners, they can't get access to a house, we've got the equipment to get them in there and provide life-saving treatment for them. And the next one down is unwanted fire alarm signals. So that's your fire alarms within schools, hospitals, office blocks and the like. And we work with all our duty holders within these premises, and we want to reduce these fire alarm signals. Obviously, you're not wanting fire engines hearing down the street, blue lights on, perhaps a danger, or not a danger, but perhaps causing distress to other drivers if they're not needed, if it's burnt toast or something like that. So we're trying to reduce the responses to these kind of incidents and work with our duty holders, and just look at it over a period of time, look at trends again. And just moving down, we've got any incidents, activities or notes. So community safety, obviously with the COVID, it kicked in. It was very difficult for us to get out and engage with the local community. So we have been trying to carry out home fire safety visits to the most at risk. So most at risk for us is somebody high risk of potential fire within the house, low mobility, can't maybe get out the house as well. So that was who we were concentrating on. And we've been carrying out and promoting our virtual school presentations as well. Again, we can't get into the schools just now, and hopefully that will help it. That will sort of calm down. We'll get in. I've been told today at a meeting it won't probably be before August, but we will get that up and running again. There's a wee bit of, basically a bit of literature there, so if anybody's want to take that away from them, if there's a home fire safety visit, if you know anybody that could benefit from that, that's for free service. We can also provide the emergency action plans, what to do in the case of a fire, and also fit pre-smoke alarms. So there's a number there, and please call it if you are signpost somebody that you know might be benefiting from that. And then just moving down, we've got a current campaign just now with again, this is our most vulnerable that we're looking at just now. We've been looking at trends, and if we're trying to catch people, it's over 50, smokes, low mobility. So there's a wee campaign there, and if you look down there, just further down, we've got some links onto the web page for the Fire and Rescue Service. So if you click on the links, or if you just go into the SFRS homepage, if you look into your area, and there's lots of information there regarding home fire safety visits, fire safety in the home. You can even do your own checklist as well, that self-assessment check. And I think that's just a couple of things I'd like to add on as well. Coming up in the next wee while, the 7th of June, Scottish Fire and Rescue Service is going to put out a consultation for 6 weeks, and it's a long-term strategic vision. So what are we going to be doing in the future? There's been a lot of discussion in the past, so we're looking at consultation. How's the fire service going to look within the next 10, 20 years? And it'll be out to public consultation. So please, if you just go into our webpage and get involved in that, you've got a lot to put into it. You can have a say in it. Just going back to the engagement with the schools, I had been in contact with Jane O'Neill and Annette Warren as well. Last week, just down off the time capsule where crews were putting out a fire within wooded area down there, and they subjected to some verbal abuse and a bit of stone thrown as well. Luckily, none of the firefighters were injured, but it actually hit the appliance. So I was looking to see if we could get into the schools. It looks as if we might only be able to do it virtually, but I would try to get into that local school before the end of the summer holidays. That'd be good if I could do that. But I've already been in contact with a couple of people locally. And then just the last thing there as well, I'd already mentioned it, Beautiful Scotland. There's a lot of clean-up campaigns going on, and I'm hoping that our crews will engage with that. Each of our crews have got their own wards that we've allocated to them, and I've sent the links through to them. Have a look to see if there's anything in their ward, and if they're on duty, please come along, get involved and help out. And I think that's me. Well, just the last thing as well, obviously I'd already mentioned that the RTCs or the traffic management sites. I'm quite happy to tie in with that as well. And going forward, I'll tie in with Police Scotland as well. So I'm starting to make my links just now, and we can work together and see what we can come up with that. And I'm happy to take any questions.
David.
Yeah.
Hi there. Is there any word on the amalgamation of the stations there with Coatbridge or Coatbridge with Bellsallow? I know what's going on now with Kilsyth and Cumbernauld. Is there anything that's happening here locally?
No, there won't be an amalgamation of Bellshill and Coatbridge. I'm not aware of an amalgamation with Kilsyth and Cumbernauld as well. There's two different duty types. Kilsyth are part-time firefighters who work off a pager, and they need to get to their station within 5 to 6 minutes. And at Cumbernauld, they're whole time, which is basically that's their full-time job. So they'll start a shift and finish a shift. I'm not aware of that any amalgamation.
For Coatbridge.
No.
Coatbridge. Right,
no.
Good man. Thank you.
Oh, good, David. Thank you very much for that. Is anybody
Okay,
getting any matters? No. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Folks. We've moved on, we've been through the kind of the agenda meeting, so is there any other competent business anybody wants to raise? Councillor Larson, yes.
Thanks very much, Chair. I'd only seen it via social media this week that we're putting consultation out for views on what should happen with Coldawning Street. Is anybody here able to tell me a wee bit more about that?
It's is it okay to speak?
Yeah, carry on, Annette.
It's not the consultation that's out just now is about the change of use of the building.
Yeah.
So it's very, very specific because it is common good building. Before the council has a right to change it, they have to go to court to get that right. Is that right, Christine?
And that's my understanding, that the criteria of housing does not meet the criteria of the common good, which, you know, the building was obviously bequeathed for. And so are you telling me then that the survey that's going out is to establish what a change of use might look like? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Well, have you any idea how long the court case is going to take, the court proceedings are going to
The
take?
consultation itself is a 6-week period. It's set by the legislation of the Community Empowerment Act as well.
And so I'm assuming, Annette, that if people in the community say that they would like to see it used for housing, that would sort of give power to the council's elbow, if you like, and
Yes,
vice versa.
100%. And these consultations, you're making a really good point there. These consultations are not always about having an opinion on something you don't like. I would encourage people who think it's a good idea to go on and share your opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Could I come in here? There is consultation starting regarding a town hall. What the idea is that there's several parts of it that will still be used for offices because they're not suitable for anything else. The structure of the front, I wouldn't imagine to change, but there will be recommendations for, we know the benefits of the housing we got in the Carnegie Library. Now, anybody that's went and seen those houses inside are beautiful, but you can't put them all into the town hall. It's not suitable for it all. But people, please, yes, encourage people to give their opinion, because there's no use 10 or 15 or 20 people giving an opinion and say, we love it, and there's 200 said, well, we never done it, but we don't like it. So it would be better we encourage all the public as much to take part.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor.
Is there any other way of doing the taking part and not just doing the surveys online for people that maybe can't do it online? Is there any other way of doing the surveys or getting your hands on them?
Can I maybe just answer that, Sarah Jane? It's not really a survey. What it is the consultation is on. So it's just about reading them, and we're looking for feedback through the Community Matters email address. So we're just looking for people's thoughts, and that's the way that they would send it through. Okay, thank you.
And other than putting it out on the council's website, has it been advertised anywhere else, the consultation?
Yes, yesterday was the first day of the official consultation. So as per the legislation, notices were put on the front door of Coldawning Street. It was also put on the notice board in the corner street and the side door. It was also put in local facilities, including community centres, and it was also sent out to every member within this board. So we're encouraging everyone.
2 minutes.
We're encouraging everyone to please go on and have a look. The link is on the stuff that's been sent to you. If you need me to send further links, then we can do that tomorrow.
And see if you get a chance, it doesn't have to be today or in the next week or two, would you be able to give me a wee call?
Of course I will. I'll call you tomorrow morning if you're available.
Thanks so much.
Right.
Okay, folks, thanks for that. I think that's probably conclusion of the meeting. Can I thank you for your
Ask
time?
a question as my first meeting, and I want to say thank you for welcoming me. but it's just when the next meeting is, because that's my first time.
Well, if you give me a wee sec, I'm just going to come to that.
All right,
So,
okay.
I say thank you for your attendance tonight, your commitment and having the meeting. The date of the next meeting is Tuesday, the 24th of August, 2021, and it'll be at 6:30. And I'd imagine all the links will be sent to anybody who's been in attendance tonight. So again, once again, thank you very much for your attendance and have a good evening.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
And